this later, but
I have no idea. It's over there.
okay, yeah. We can go home after. We can go home afterwards. I'd like to go. Okay. Oh, I can do that. Beautiful. I think if we tell them now, they'll be distracted. So I think we'll set them right here, and at the end, no. Do it at the, have them sign it up at the registration table, or will they forget? I think we'll do it in here at the end.
Okay.
Good. And they didn't pick this up. Marlena had, oh, why don't we do it this way? Okay, I take it all of you who are here for the experience track. That means people who have got their hands dirty using trauma healing in your communities. I see many of you with dirty hands. So this session is going to be facilitated by Bill and Lorraine Foute, who many of you know and love, and all of us will by the end of the day, right? So I'll turn it over to them. And you're going to do this. Yeah. They have cards on it.
So what I'd like us to do is kind of move forward. Can we get 6 to a table, not 8, so you don't have to sit with your back to the front? 6 to a table, as close in as possible so you can see. We're going to do low-tech sustainable technology. We're going to be writing on white paper. So 6 to a table, just move as far forward as possible and not too lateral. Not too wide. So we have room right here. There's a couple of great tables right up here. And every table should have 2 3x5 or 4x6 cards on it. If you don't have 2 cards, raise your hand and we'll give you 2 cards. Pardon? Yeah. But I thought we were just going to get them written down. Verbally. Written. Okay. This is about our 3rd or 4th COP, and to me, this is the best part for me as a facilitator, because I come to these with struggles, some successes, but questions and things that I really wished I could do iron sharpening iron with other facilitators around the world and see how other people are doing it and how they've overcome some of the challenges that I haven't been able to. So this is always the best part for me as a facilitator. I love the rest of the COP, but that's just me. So I hope you find this valuable. We want to talk about successes as well as challenges. And what I really want to do is work on those challenges. I don't want us to go away frustrated like I gave my challenge, but I got no help whatsoever. It got out there, but I'm no better off. So I really hope that we can put our heads together, because none of us are as smart as all of us. There's huge wisdom and facilitating experience, trauma healing experience in the room. So let me just pray. Lord, thank you for this group of people with dirty hands and people with hearts of love and a commitment to helping the hurting. And I pray you'll make this a blessed session and a helpful session for all of us to be sharper and better equipped. That your kingdom will increase, that your people will find healing. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. We want to do the challenges first, and then we're going to get them back from you, and then we're going to collate them, and then give them back to you for problem solving, and then we'll do successes in the middle. So this is a little bit different order than usual. So what we'd like you to do is have somebody be the discussion leader at your table and start brainstorming or sharing stories on what are the challenges that you face in your trauma healing ministry. And you can think broadly. It could be the workshop itself or the healing group. It could be funding. It could be sustainability. All be as specific as possible. But then the hard part is boil it down to your top 3. And you may have common ones in your group that lend itself to saying, aha, this is one of our top 3. So we're gonna, don't write on the 4x6 card yet, just take notes, brainstorm, and then get it down to your top 3 challenges or struggles in your trauma healing ministry. Sure.
One thing that would help is pick somebody who has handwriting that someone else could read.
Good point. Yeah, and if you want to share from either story-based or children's challenges, if that's your ministry, then go ahead and share that as well. So somebody take notes, somebody lead the discussion at every table, and just for now, just brainstorm and talk about what are your challenges in trauma healing. And then we'll blow the whistle when we want you to start narrowing it down for your top 3. So we'll have about 25 minutes. start to narrow down. Get your card out, and the secretary can start writing down your top 3 or 4. Don't go past 4. 3 or 4 challenges. If your table has 3 or 4, you can hold up your card if you're done writing, and we'll collect your card. Okay, wrap up your note-taking for your top 3 or 4. We need to collect your cards. Is that it for the challenges? Okay, no more cards to turn in. All right, Lorraine is going to try to look for common ones and collate them all. But in the meantime, let's think about successes. Where has God really blessed the trauma healing ministry that you're involved with? So make sure your stories are not too long so that everybody at your table gets a chance to share. But just share stories of success and blessing, okay? And somebody be taking notes. And then we'll try to get those on cards as well. All right?
challenges about materials. Languages. We're just supposed to come up with suggestions on how to
How to get it into new languages, is that the question?
yeah, how do you
Get it into new languages.
reproducing?
Get a good supply of materials, is that what reproducing? Contextualizing.
That's for table. Two together. Okay.
Criteria
Okay.
selection.
I don't think you need to. We don't know if there's going to be time.
Okay, we're not going to share.
We may not share out.
That helps.
But, or what we may do is just, if there's, whatever time is left, we'll have them come to the microphone and share whatever they want to share. I think we're going to spend more time on the challenges than the successes. Mentoring follow-up. Reporting. That go under
Is
there.
that even up there?
What, reporting?
Our team is
Okay.
Right,
We're still talking, but not about the topic.
Okay.
thanks.
Reporting. Okay, go ahead. Okay, let's do, how many do we have now?
Got 5.
Resources. should go to Margie's table. Mhm. That was their question. Okay, getting permission to hold trauma healing, and then what's the other one? Nominations and faith. How many more do we need?
That makes number 8. Wait, we need 3 more. That's 7. That's 8. That makes 9.
Poverty. Should I put that in with this one too? Okay.
Problems with starting and scheduling.
Getting group started, commitment. This is our last one. Miss sessions. Wait, he put it here for.
Just over here.
That's all right, because I don't think we'll write anymore. What if people miss sessions? Then certificate. Okay, one more. Here, I'll pass them out, and you can just.
Okay, we're going to shift now to cover the challenges that you turned in, and we've put them up here. We've kind of collated them, and each table is going to get a challenge or a set of challenges that we'd like you to put your heads together, take notes, and we're going to hear back from you. Whatever wisdom you can come up with or experience that you've had in overcoming those challenges. So you have 5 more minutes to come up with solutions. So begin to wrap up. Choose your spokesperson who's going to come to the microphone and give us your wisdom.
Do you want our successes as well?
Yeah, we can take those. Okay, let's round up the discussion, and now we're going to listen. Each group can have about 2 minutes in front of the microphone. Give us the challenges that you addressed, and then whatever solutions you came up with.
Okay.
Okay, we're listening.
The card I have here is talking about leadership challenges, the issue of mentoring, follow-up, and then geographic spread. What we got from here is sometimes the facilitator, if he or she is not well trained, the issue of mentoring becomes a challenge. You cannot mentor someone unless you are well equipped, you are well trained. Even the issue of follow-up, you cannot follow unless you have the stages to know that I'm going this day, to know that this guy has done this and this and this. And then tomorrow when you're going, you're expecting something new, so that you know him that is actually progressing. And the third one is the geographic spread, or the widen of the place or the areas where the healing groups or the activities are taking place. For example, from our side, from South Sudan, nowadays, because we have challenge of war in the country, we only concentrate our activities within Juba, the capital city. But before the war, we were operating in several areas. We have Yambio, we have Maridi, we have Mundri, and several other places. But due to war, we could not go to other places, to those places. So our facilitators are there, and sometimes we hear of them. Some have already joined refugee camps in Uganda. So it is hard for us to mentor them. It is hard for us to follow them up. And even to go to where the centers are, where the groups are there. So it's one of the challenges that we are facing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. One other idea on follow-up and staying in touch with people is WhatsApp. Forming a WhatsApp group is a good way to keep people accountable and to stay in touch with them. Okay, thank you. Okay, next table.
Yeah, our question was who to equip, what are the selection criteria, and immediately they said, no pastors. Pastors preach and teach, and they're not very good at facilitating, and no evangelists. Now, this wasn't an absolute, but that was the direction. So they thought experienced Christians, people who are maybe beyond the time when their brains are fully developed, around 24 and up, maybe social workers, counselors, people who are used to facilitating, to listening, not preaching. And one country said, we in our country, we have the churches recommend who should be coming to be equipped.
Excellent. Don't give up on pastors completely. Some of them can change. Okay, next table.
Our challenge was about materials, the languages, reproducing the materials, and contextualization. And one of the items that we identified is the concern that the interpreters and translators really need to understand the material, and perhaps even have the interpreters, especially those that are translators that are translating the material, have to go through a healing session so they understand the whole context before they start doing the translation. That could also apply to interpreters. And it's important for the interpreters also to have an understanding of the culture.
Okay, thank you very much. Next table.
Okay, my time is up. I'll go sit down just to get up here. Actually, we had the challenge of church and pastor involvement. And so we looked at it in two ways. We looked at it from the aspect of pastors just becoming involved, period, you know. And so the suggestion or the solution was really doing workshops geared towards pastors, maybe having 15 to 20 pastors come together. And it was suggested from different denominations and also could be used by, you could also do it with the same denominations. Each group would actually present a different dynamic. But healing groups with the 5 core lessons with the intention of promoting unity in how they looked at the trauma healing program. Then also the other aspect was we looked at it from how can we get our churches to allow us to use the facility to hold a healing group. And so we were very encouraged that we got data today from a study that was done. And so we could use the impact study to encourage the churches to allow us to use the facility, because churches exist to see people come to the Lord and they want to grow and be vibrant. And now we have some actual data that will back that up to show the relevancy of trauma healing program. Then the other thing was, the other challenge was differences in denominations. We have to become little salespeople. Talk to your leaders and present the program. You just have to really present the trauma healing program till they understand it, you know. The more educated the leaders, it was observed that the more educated the leaders, the more open they seem to be to the trauma healing program. So a good place to start would be to go to the seminary and Bible colleges to get people on board at that level so they can disseminate that out to pastors that are being trained. So that was our group.
Okay, great. And don't forget convening sessions as a great way to help pastors get a taste of trauma healing.
Our challenge was getting men and women facilitators trained, and even getting men in some areas or getting women. So we said in male-dominant societies, go ahead and train the men first so that you get their blessing before you're able to include women and others. Advocate the program in areas where there are normally more women, so where there are programs for women, integrating trauma healing there. Also train in local languages, but with the intention to have people train in other languages. And then, similar to what was just said, to integrate trauma healing at a higher level in the seminaries, in universities, in social and public health programs.
Okay, thank you. Very good.
We found that also talking with the men and saying, if you have traumatized women in your church, it will help you if you have women who are trained in trauma healing so that they can come alongside those women, and that will be a help to you. And then they sent some women. So a lot of things you can do.
So which table are we at?
Right here.
Okay, so our challenge was reporting. I think we all have that challenge. We came up with 3 solutions. One is post-training follow-up and guidance. You have to keep following up with the facilitators to guide them how to start the healing group and then guide them how to do the reporting after. So if you have strong follow-up techniques, you're able to get the reports on time. The second solution was holding a gathering. It can be, every 3 months, or you decide, and you hold a gathering for the facilitators. You have nice food, you have a comfortable, chill atmosphere, and then you do the reporting together. So you teach them how to do it, and you encourage them to do it at the same time. The third solution, which is, the one that's least preferred, but it's guaranteed, you gather the information from them and you do it yourself. Okay. So this is the least preferred, but it's also one of the solutions. You ask them to you know, you ask them for the information and then you go and submit the reports yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I heard some wisdom yesterday from some other people. One is help people to know the why of reporting. What are the benefits to them, to the community, as well as to the Trauma Healing Institute? So talk about the benefits of reporting. Another one, let's see, what was it? Yeah. Anyway, it'll come to me.
But Dana's going to have a video done of her telling the whys of reporting.
Yeah.
We
That.
can use it.
Yeah. Oh, the other one was give feedback. It's really deadening, kind of demoralizing when people send in report, and never get feedback. And so you, as the one that trained them, give them feedback, and that'll encourage them. Okay, Dana?
Can I just make one comment before that? Just so it's very clear, the reports in the database are for the trainer, you know, you all, as you're running programs in your countries, that you know what else is going on. We here in this building we're not able to read all the reports. We don't know all the people. We like to look at how much the numbers at the end, but those reports are really for what Bill is saying, that you can follow those people you've trained, and when they put in a report, you can say, that's great, or wait a minute, this is you can't do 10 lessons in 3 hours. What happened? You can't do it with 300 people. So those reports are for you, for your benefit. We set up the structure, but it's not like for ABS. Yes? Yeah. Okay.
The question we had was, if you have a class with different education levels, how do you deal with that? And of course, there are a couple of things that ABS has provided with the audio for the stories and things like that, and so adapt the training for using the audio stories, and also there's the story-based training. But the thing that stuck out for us is that it's important for the facilitator to know as much as possible what's going on with the people around there, and one suggestion was pair up someone with a lower education level with someone that will help them in that. So pairing people up. But I think the facilitators creating an atmosphere where it is safe no matter what your education level is very vital as a part of that. The second is advocacy and publicity, and we're assuming how do you advocate or publicize was that. And a strong thing is telling stories with permission, making sure you have that permission and sharing the story, but then just packaging the message, laying out the need. We had some great figures here today that could help show the results of what a trauma healing program does, and so packaging the message. And if that's hard for you to do, there are other people within the body of Christ, their gifts, bring them together and work on it together as a team rather than by yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Next table, your challenge and your solution.
Our question was on resources, funding, and sustainability. And one of the solutions we came up with is partnerships with other organizations that you can work together to make sure the work is done. Another one is getting the local churches to sponsor the trainings. Another one is telling the story better so that donors can hear what we are doing and be able to sponsor. And finally, strengthening the local COPs to ensure that there is working together within the organizations that are doing trauma healing in the country. Thank you.
Okay, and one other thing about funding is if you put your creative hat on in terms of how you schedule training, you can fit it into a church calendar so that people don't pay any money to come. It's just part of the church calendar. Someone has done a Saturday healing group, and then out of that Saturday healing group, there was 2 more Saturdays of equipping of select people from the Saturday group. And they didn't have to pay for anything hardly, because it was just a weekend and it wasn't involving overnight or anything like that. So, okay, which table?
Okay, that's, I was
Okay,
told I had to do this, so I am. It says, what if people miss sessions? What do you do about certification? And the first response was we beat them. And then the second one was that we pay them to come. But neither of those seemed very helpful. If people miss sessions, it depends on how many sessions they miss. If they miss one, and there's a way in which you can meet with them and make sure that session has been gone through in some sort of participatory way, then you might be able to go ahead and give them a certificate. But if they miss more than one session, you just give them a participation certificate, and you don't give a certification. And one thing that might be helpful for that is that you always start out your equipping with a time of collectively deciding what are the guidelines for this group. And if they don't say that, then you as the facilitator can say, mine would be that you must come to every session, and if not, then you won't be certified. So letting them know up front, missing a session is not acceptable.
And I think which sessions they miss is also pretty critical. If they miss the core lessons. One thing that we did in Nigeria, where we had people coming kind of straggling in, the beginning time was almost meaningless. We did a trust building exercise for the first hour. So that allowed people to come in and join in that exercise, but it wasn't really part of the course. So, okay, next table. Yes.
We liked their question better than, or their challenge better than our challenge. Our challenge is, what if there's constant war, poverty, and just too much trauma happening all the time, where you're trying to have the trauma healing? So first we just said, you have to persevere, because this is exactly the place where we need Jesus to be present. And so we just want to encourage people to, as much as possible, persevere, to see that the trauma healing may actually be the thing that will disrupt the cycle of harm and desire for revenge and those root causes of war in the first place. Then we talked about how, in trauma healing situations like that, you may just really need to slow down, much like when a disaster hits, you focus on the basics, food, shelter, water. And so maybe in your trauma healing groups, you really need to get focused on fewer things. Slow down, get back to those basics. And then we just talked a little bit about how, advocacy still really needs to keep happening, and even training of more facilitators in those situations. We talked a little bit about how ultimately we think the answers to these long haul problems will lie in strong communities that are made up of resilient individuals that are prepared to be in it for the long haul. And then finally, we also talked a little bit about how in cases where there's so much war and it's not even safe to travel, that the radio broadcasting can help make that safe, both for the facilitators and the participants, and how technology like WhatsApp groups and so forth could be also helpful.
Great, thank you. Is that all the tables? So, yeah, we can collect those, but I thought what we could do is look at the challenges again and then let people chip in, because you may have come up with a real great solution and it wasn't assigned, the challenge wasn't assigned to your table, but if you want to chip in anything, you can rush to the microphone and chip in what you've learned about it. Okay, who to equip? The whole problem of selection, equipping people that don't use the training. Have you come up with anything that has helped you to kind of overcome that and have some success there. Anything on the equipping that wasn't already shared? I like the solution of asking churches. I think we did this in Bahrain. We asked 16 churches to send 2 people each who were already involved in helping people, so that you got the real people who wanted the training and could benefit from it. Okay, either place.
We were talking about this yesterday, and while it is true we don't want to train a lot of people who aren't going to use it, there is a benefit, I think, for top church leaders to do the training if they're willing to, if they can do it and want to do it, even though you know they're so busy they won't be able to do it, because so many people, even after a convening session and you talk with them and you explain it all, it's when they go through the equipping session or a healing group that they say, oh, that's what you were talking about. And if you, I think in Uganda, maybe Justice can say, if you get the top leaders, really their hearts are in this, the door is open. And if you don't get the top leaders, even, so the time that you spend training top leaders, even maybe you don't have healing groups going on, but you've opened the door for a lot more people to be able to do it. That's, yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, that's true. I just want to add, when you get the church leaders, how do you communicate the message? Packaging of the message is important. In Uganda, you, even at that level, listen to the church leader. We do not go assuming that the church leaders have done nothing. Listen to them, then justify the cause for trauma healing better, and then have them own up the need. In northern Uganda particularly, and the Catholic Church at that, the Archbishop was able to say, in his words, at the end of the war, we realized there was need for everyone to forgive, but we did not know how. Now I find this trauma healing helping us as a church to bring forgiveness in real terms. So he takes it as the church business, so to say, not so much the Bible Sate business. And we find that very successful. Thank you, Harriet, for reminding us.
Thank you, that's great. I think one group had a question about how do you make sure there's enough time for someone, did you have something? Go ahead.
Okay, that in my country has the same program because many people go to the trainings, but never doing the replicate the trauma healing groups. If for that reason, we can do it a contract that they explain what have to doing to finish the program, and they have to doing another healing groups with their community, because I think so we I don't know how to say invertir to invest in their people. They have to take a time to doing this in their community. It's for that reason we have signed a contract and say, I want to doing this, or only have to wait for the healing groups that another people want to say.
That's a great idea. So you make a contract with them so that they know your expectation and they commit themselves to that. That's great.
And Thaddeus, who couldn't be here from Kenya, told me that what he is trying to do now is when people sign up for an initial equipping, he tells them right at the beginning that there's also an advanced equipping, and that they should just mentally prepare for that with 2 healing groups in between. So similar to what you're saying, he tells them the whole level of commitment right at the beginning. Yeah, Brian?
We've started in the action plans the last day. We've started with a form that says, oh, I am planning to take my advanced at boom, 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 boom. And to do so, I need to do 2 healing groups, and here's my plan, boom, boom. And it's really been a little bit helpful to get the mindset into, I really need to do this, and my training is not finished.
So one of the groups mentioned a situation where you have people in your healing group or in your even equipping group that have experienced something very traumatic. How do you allow time for them to really tell their story? So does anyone have some ideas for that one? How do you provide time for people to fully tell their story?
Within our congregation, we also have a lay counseling ministry, and which is at no cost. And so it's a natural way for people to go through the healing sessions and then to be referred to a lay counselor. And as a lay counselor, I can attest that people have, realized, okay, now I can begin to tell my whole story.
Great. Any other suggestions? Lydia?
Also, when you're doing your equipping sessions, your initial equipping, if you're mentoring or bringing others alongside, if something comes up in an equipping group or even in a healing group, if you're constantly having a helper or a couple of people helping, you can also make a statement in the beginning that these are people that you can talk to if your situation requires additional conversation longer than we may have in the class. So providing that opportunity right up front, saying this is introducing people who are resources for safe conversations.
We did have an example in Ukraine where we offered an optional session for people, and we had about 5 or 6 who came and wanted to tell their stories and prayed for them. So if you have the capacity to do that.
Yeah, I think at least this came up at our table, so it may be somewhere else, but I think part of it was in a healing group, how do you manage when people are telling their story and they go on and on and on? So it's slightly different. These are wonderful answers. But you don't have to finish one lesson in one session. You can divide the lesson. If the discussion needs to go on and someone's telling their story, I think that's about all we're going to be able to cover today. We'll pick it up the next time. So, kind of not keeping the mentality, one time we meet, it's one session. It can be 2. I know another group that they've done 1 lesson, 4 sessions.
Okay, we're going to close now. We're at time. Thank you. It's been a long day. We'll turn it back over to Harriet.
Bill and Lorraine. And by the way, did you notice that Bill and Lorraine are like master at facilitating? They got feedback on a number of things. All of us felt kind of involved. We were all engaged. We weren't bored. We got through the material. You guys are genius. Genius. So thank you. This is the end of our day. We have 2 announcements. One is that tomorrow we will come to this room first for a short time, this experience track at 3:30, like we did today. But then we're going to split up into tracks. Maybe you have noticed that on the program. And there are these sign-up sheets. So you have 5 options. And I'll put these on the island, and you can sign up today. So that will help Sarah. We are trying to prolong Sarah's life by helping her without, not signing up. So please sign up for the love of Sarah. And she can organize us nicely. So the choices are mentoring and reporting. And Phil Monroe will be leading that session. Trauma healing database tutorial, how to enter data into the database. And Christina Gingero will be leading that session. Organizing a community of practice, Marjorie. I always say Marjorie, but how do you say your last name? Le nom de famille, c'est Niyungeko. Okay. Marjorie will be leading organizing a community of practice. We have a lot of them at different levels. local levels, you know, national levels, global levels. So talking about that, a very key part of a program. Translating trauma healing materials. Margaret Hill will be leading that with Skulk Botha. So how do you go about translating in good ways? And then a session on story-based trauma healing that Brian Varnkamp and friends will be leading. So these will be out there. Please make a choice, and that way we can prepare. The second announcement is that the Bible Society participants are asked to remain in the room just for something, announcement or something after this session. So thank you. It's been a wonderful day. We've been really, I think we need to just go to sleep and let some of it percolate down. I've asked Reverend Munder Shatit from Jordan to close our day in prayer.
Okay, let's bow our heads in a word of prayer. Lord, we want to thank you and honor your name for all what we have heard and learned today. We thank you for all the stories and the successes and even the challenges we're facing while taking this curriculum into different areas of the world. We want to honor your name, Lord, and we are so thrilled that we are part of your redeeming and healing process in this broken world, Lord. I pray that you will give each one of us the rest we need, the strength we need so we can continue. We are eagerly looking for tomorrow and the days ahead, that you will continue to bless us and use us. In your mighty name I ask this. Amen.